I very much love pictures and the philosophy of what a picture is. I'm always thinking about how to construct a feeling of depth and content and meaning. Painting is the place to go for that. I grew up in a family of artists. My father was a geometric abstract painter. My mother's a poet. My stepfather was a sculptor, and my stepmother was a painter. So there wasn't even another option, it seemed, growing up. I began organizing my work in chapters in 2001. I always have been interested in art history. And I got the idea of the chapters, in a sense, from Hilma af Klint. She felt that all her work is one. It really seemed very simple at the beginning, but I like the idea that one idea leads to another idea. I've always been interested in landscape painting, and I decided I wanted to try to work with this Michael Heizer-Pete's double negative. It's a cut into the landscape. It's kind of violent, like a line drawn in the earth. I went Christmas Day with my son Isaac. We just rented a car and we went and found double negative, which is not easy to find. Many of these images are from little tiny Polaroids that I scanned and then blew up and silk screened. So the silk screen starts right here in this one, and you can kind of see it in there. And this is my son Isaac standing there. This was in the lead up before the election of Trump. I was very alarmed at the prospect of Trump winning. It has a kind of mood to it that seemed right for the seriousness of the moment. It's kind of somber. And I wanted the indigo to go from light to dark. And then I hung another panel on this one, and on it is a reproduction of this old engraving by Marcantonio Raimondi called The Dream of Raphael, or Hecuba's Dream. It's such an evocative and kind of scary image, and I thought it was a good way to kind of express my fears right at that time. And when I began with the chapters, the problem I was feeling with painting was the focus on the singular, monocular painting. I wanted somehow to get out of that, and I found a way, I think, with geometry. I started making dimensions for the panels that are consistent throughout every chapter. So every element is mathematically related. All the rectangles are a golden section. It's this sweet spot in nature that just occurs over and over again in many different ways. It enabled me to put very different kinds of paintings side by side and think more about adjacencies of paintings rather than the one painting. Chapter 35 is called The Sun Doesn't Move. I became very interested in Katarzyna Kobro. She was a sculptor, and I was very struck by this one sculpture of hers, which was so radically advanced for its time. I rebuilt that sculpture and photographed it, and it really worked as a way for me to think through Renaissance perspective and the photograph. This is the Kobro sculpture and a silk screen of a Stravinsky painting with lead white. All the white in here is lead white. Makes it very like sculptural. This shows the early paintings of the Cobro sculpture that I reproduced and used again in this chapter. For most shows, I have a vitrine because it's always all these things happening together that inform what's in the work. I just love to arrange things. I have a real passion for it. It's funny. Like even my house, like I have like little this arranged that way, that arranged this way. I always loved art history, and I wanted to try to bring all these diverse interests together because they all influenced each other. I had been invited to write something for the John's catalog. It was a Dear John letter I wrote to him about his American flag paintings. And then I thought, well, I better do my own because that's only fair, you know. The whole Trump election was again happening because it had been 4 years. I was thinking about that. This is this extremely black that I attempted to use, Singularity Black. It becomes, in a sense, a big eye, the flag, I'd say. It's like that's like a pupil. This painting went through so many levels. I had various figures in at different times. For a while, I had Trump in it. And I do think it's about that time. This exhibition is the conclusion of the last 20 years. In my grandiose moments, I'm like, I want to make my own art history. It is a political kind of endeavor to interpret art history. I couldn't have done those paintings without art history. What I do in this way of painting comes out of that and refers directly and is inseparable from it, I think.